Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to another Facebook Live. Today we are talking all things watercolor pencils. So my name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada. And I'm excited to be here to share some fun techniques using our watercolor pencils today. So before we get started, I wanted to point them out in the catalog and kind of share some of the things that you'll want to make sure that you have on hand. All right, so first of all, we have two different sets of watercolor pencils. You can find them in the annual catalog on page 144, and there's two different sets. So I have mine kind of like they're all mixed together in this little container. So I'm going to be using some from one set, some from another, and I don't know which ones come from which. Okay, but I will specify which colors I'm using so that you guys can reference that if you need to. Good morning, Kim. Good morning, Shara. Good morning, Joy. Welcome. The other thing I'm going to be using a lot of is watercolor paper. I do suggest that you use watercolor paper when you use the pencils, because then it gives you the freedom to add more moisture and really blend those pencils. However, another good option is our shimmery white cardstock, and I believe one of my samples uses shimmery white. Good morning, Mary Liz. And then I will also be using our new water brushes. So these replace our old aqua painters, and I love them. They come in a set of 3. They're very economical. You can find them on page, again, they kind of get lost in here. Page 146, they're number 11. So you get 3 different tips. You get a really fine one, you get a medium tip, and then you get this gorgeous wide brush. And wait until I show you what you can do with that wide brush. Good morning, Denise. All right, so the other thing that's handy to have is a piece of paper towel as well. Just something to dab off if you've got too much moisture on your brush. Okay. Let's see here. Mary Liz says she loves her watercolor pencils. She uses shimmery white and her brushes are en route. Good morning, Kim. Yeah, it's a perfect way to start the day, right? Okay, so I've just got a scrap piece of watercolor paper. Now this is, I believe it might be one of our older pieces when we had larger sheets, or it could be just a scrap that I had from a bigger package that I had. So I'm just gonna use this as a scrap to demonstrate a few different techniques. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab, and actually something that I wanted to mention, just gonna grab something here. Okay, so this tip was shared with me by my friend Lorna it's probably been a couple years ago now. When you sharpen your pencils, you want to be very careful. So put them in, and instead of turning the pencil sharpener, and it's easier on the pencil, so you'll find that your tip won't break off as easily. The other thing is, don't sharpen them so that they're at a really strong point. Like this is sharpened enough, and that will work beautifully. Okay, so you can see that. All right, so that's a little tip. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pencil and I'm just going to color. I'm going to have it a little darker on one side and gradually get lighter. Okay, and then I'm going to take the middle size brush and I'm going to blend. So you can see that there is strong pencil marks, and they're even more noticeable because we're using watercolor paper, and it's very grainy. Okay, it's got so much texture on it, but you can smooth that away by using your aqua painter. So you can blend it beautifully. So you can see that you get this beautiful blended look. Okay, so that's one way that you can use them. And then I will usually just, to clean my water brush, I just run it on my paper towel and it's good to go. All right, good morning, Shara. Yes, that sharpening tip, I thought that was a great tip. So I appreciate, I tell you, demonstrators, we're a great supportive group. We share everything. Good morning, Barb. Good morning, Sue. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to share is how you can add moisture to the paper first. Let's switch up colors. Let's use, so this was Old Olive. This is Flirty Flamingo. It doesn't say on it, but I'm pretty sure it is Flirty Flamingo. So this time I'm going to wet the paper first. And I will squeeze my aqua painter to get that water to come out because I want quite a bit of moisture. And then I will color over top. Look how vibrant that is. And like I'm doing a really, really light touch. That color is so vibrant. And I'm hardly even touching the cardstock. Okay, so you can still see doing that. You can still see the grain in the paper quite a bit. But then let's do, okay, this time we'll switch up. Let's do, what color is this? Crushed curry. Okay, so this time I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to wet my cardstock first. And then color. Look how vibrant that is. And then I'm going to go over it again with my aqua painter. And that, or not aqua painter, sorry, water brush. I wonder how many times I'm going to call it an aqua painter. And that gets rid of those harsh lines. Okay. So there, I'll bring it up closer so you can kind of see the difference. All right. I'll clean my brush. Okay. Now this next way is my favorite way of using our watercolor pencils. So I am going to use, this is Rich Razzleberry, and I'm going to pull a color right from the tip. And you can put as much color on there as you want. And then I'll color. And then you can just go back, get some more color, and add that. I think that is my favorite way of coloring. You can get such a nice look with that. And I love that variation where it goes darker, where you first apply it, and then it gradually gets lighter. Yes, happy birthday, Kalinda. I saw that it was your birthday today, and I haven't seen you forever. I hope you have a great day. Okay, and then with this wide brush, you can do such fun things with this brush. Okay, so look how wide that is. Isn't that fabulous? Okay, so we're gonna choose 2 colors this time. So let's see, I want colors that are quite different. Let's use, this one is Coastal Cabana, and let's do Coastal Cabana and color pink is this, Melon Mambo. Okay, and I'm going to use that same technique. First of all, I'm going to squeeze it to get some water down. You can kind of see as the water comes down, you'll see it drip. I don't know, you guys probably can't see it on camera, but I can see it coming down. And then it'll start to drip here. Okay, we're good. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to color onto the paintbrush or onto the water brush. And look how well, look how dark that color is. It goes on there so amazingly well. And I'm going to do the same thing. So I colored about half the brush with the Melon Mambo, and now I'm doing the other half with the Coastal Cabana. I'm going to go back over it here, and you can kind of see it's almost making it look purple where the 2 colors mix or meet. Okay, and then look at that. How fun is that? Can you imagine the fun backgrounds you can create with that? So fun. And you can go over it. The more moisture that you add, the softer it will look. So you can create another. This is there's quite a bit of moisture in there. So if you didn't, Mary Liz wants to go home and play. If you didn't squeeze it as much as I did at the beginning, then your color would be a little bit more vibrant and not so washed out. But you can let that dry and you can go over it again. That's what's great about using watercolor paper. You can layer these colors on top of each other. You don't necessarily have to do just one layer. Whereas if you were to use regular Whisper White, you could probably put on a nice one layer. But if you were to add multiple layers of moisture, your paper would start to pill. So watercolor paper, you can add layer upon layer upon layer. Okay, so those are some of the techniques that you can do, some quick little ways that you can apply it. Now this tip is quite wide. You have to be careful when you put it in here because you don't want it to, your bristles to kind of fold up when you put the lid on. So I usually take my fingers and kind of squeeze them together and then slide the lid on. Okay, so let me share a few projects with you. Okay, so this first card, what I did, so this is the card here. I have used, the stamp set is the Painted Poppy stamp set, and the greeting is from Ornate Thanks. And then I used the Ornate Borders dies to create the border. But let me show you how I did the background. So I took 3 different colors. I think I did daffodil. Yeah, I did pumpkin pie, daffodil, and red, real red. And I just simply colored right on here. And then I did the orange on the top, and then I did the yellow in the middle. And you don't have, remember, you don't have to fill in the entire surface with color because you're going to go over it and blend it. And I'm going to use the middle size. And I'm going to start in the middle just because that's the lightest color. And I blend it. And then I'll go up into the orange. And back down into the yellow. That softens that transition line. And then I'll go down into the red. And then up into the yellow. We'll just tap off some of this excess on my paper towel, and then I'll go back from the yellow into the red to soften that a little bit. And you have this beautifully blended background. All right, so there's the card again. So that is using pencil and then water. Okay, toss that out of the way. The next one here is we're going to color in an image. So this is the card here. I used the Celebrate Sunflowers bundle. So I used the stamp set. The greeting and the sunflower are from that stamp set. And then the leaf images and this background. So this is the largest sunflower detailed die from the die set, and I just cut it from vellum. And then the DSP is from the In Good Taste DSP. So let me share how I colored that. Okay, so first of all, when you color in a line art image with watercolor pencils, you want to make sure that you're using StazOn ink. Memento ink is a water-based ink. If you use water-based ink with water, then of course it's going to bleed and it's going to make a big mess. So you want to use a solvent ink, and that is StazOn. Okay, so I am using my Stamparatus because I'm going to use watercolor paper. Watercolor paper has so much texture on it that, first of all, don't expect to get a perfect impression. It doesn't matter how many times you stamp it. you will likely never get a perfect impression on watercolor paper because it's so grainy. All right, but you can get a pretty good impression. The reason I'm using my Stamparatus is so that I can stamp it multiple times and it will stamp in precisely the same spot each time. So I've got my stamp on there. I'm going to ink it up with my StazOn, flip it over, stamp down. Oh, I love the smell of StazOn. It smells so good. Okay, so see how light it is? I'm going to stamp it again. That's a little bit better. I'm going to do it one more time. If you have something that's not as detailed as this, it would work a little bit better, but I love the detail on that. Okay, so that looks really good. I'm happy with that. So I'll take that out, set that aside. Okay, so now there are a couple different ways that you can color this in. Let me pull out some colors. So I'm going to use Daffodil Delight, Crushed Curry, Cajun Craze, and Early Espresso. Oh, and for the leaves, I'm going to use Granny Apple Green and Old Olive. Okay, so now, like I said, there's a couple different ways that you can color this in. You can take your pencils and you can color on here, just like this. So I'll do a few like this. Okay, so let me bring it closer so you can see. So that's just plain pencil, and you can do it like that. Then you can take your water brush, blend it, like that, and that takes away those pencil lines. Okay, or what you can do is, this needs to be sharpened a little bit more. So remember, the tip for sharpening is to turn the sharpener, not turn the pencil. Okay, so I'm pulling the color right from on here. I'll do it on this side. And so you can just keep pulling the color. And I'm only doing the tips because I'm going to add layers of color down closer to the center, or to the center of the flower. Okay. So that is my favorite way of doing it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the Crushed Curry, so that's my next darkest color. And I'm going to add a little bit. I'll bring it up closer so you guys can see. So basically where those lines are, the detailed lines, that's telling me where the shading goes. So I'm basically just adding this darker yellow over top of those lines. I love images like this because then I don't have to try to figure out where it's meant to be darker. I don't have to think about it. Okay, so let me bring that up closer so you can see the difference. So you can see that second layer of color. And then I'm going to take the Cajun Craze and you can see that I'm rotating my pencil around. You don't want to always pull color from the same part of your pencil. You want to kind of pull it. I'm just going to squeeze this. I want a little bit more moisture out here, because that will wear down your pencil in one area, and you want to wear it down kind of evenly. Now that's too much moisture. Okay, so let me bring that in a little closer so you can see. So see how it adds so much more texture and depth by adding those layers of color on there. Okay, and then for the center of the flower, I just did it in, I think what I did was I used a little bit of, oh, that's crushed curry, that's not Cajun. We want Cajun. I think I did a little bit of Cajun first, and then I went over the inside with early espresso. So I'll let that dry. One thing that you do want to do is before you add layers, you want to make sure that your layer is dry. So we'll do the leaves. So I added some granny apple green. So I colored the whole leaf in granny apple first. I love this color green. It's so pretty. Look how bright it is. But we're going to mute it down by adding a little bit of old olive. Okay. I think that middle bit might be okay. So I'll go back in with the middle, or in with the espresso into the middle of the flower. And then kind of out. And if you want it darker, you just let it dry and add more layers of color. Okay, and then we'll do our leaf. So I'm going to go in with old olive. And again, where those detailed lines are, that's where I'm going to add that second shade of green. Okay, so look at that. So that really softens that bright granny apple green, but gives the leaf a really nice dimension. Okay, let me pull in that card sample for you again so you can see. So there we go. Look at that dimension on that flower. It's so pretty. I love it. I'm actually so glad that I pulled these out because sometimes, oh, let me move it back into screen. Sometimes I forget about watercolor pencils. I love my blends. I love them so much, but watercolor pencils really give a very different look and they're so easy to use. All right. Okay. So next card, remember this technique. Where did my sheet go? This technique here. So I will share it with you again, especially for those of you who might have joined in a little bit late. So I use that technique to create the background of this card. So for this one, I use the Dandelion Wishes and shimmery white cardstock. So can you see that shimmer on there? So this is shimmery white. And again, I knew that I was just creating a background. Hey, Laura. I knew I was just creating a background, so I wasn't going to add layer upon layer of moisture, so I thought the shimmery white would be perfect for this, and it adds just a nice little shimmer to the cardstock. Okay, so for that technique, again, we're going to pull out the wide brush, and I can't remember exactly what colors. Did I write down what colors? Oh, I used Coastal Cabana and Pacific Point. This is Balmy Blue. Okay, here's Pacific Point. And that's Pacific Point and Bermuda Bay. Let's try those two colors. Okay, so for those of you who missed it, I used my wide watercolor brush and I'm coloring right on it. So I'm going to color half of the brush with the Pacific Point and then the other half with the Bermuda Bay. Okay, so you can see that I've got the color there. And then you can go in a straight line or you can go in wavy lines. It's still quite wet from the last time I squeezed it. But isn't that pretty? So pretty. I think this technique, especially with these colors, wouldn't it be wonderful with the whale? I can't remember what that suite is called. The one with the cute little whale and all that pretty DSP. Somebody tell me, somebody post what the name is. I can't remember what it's called. Whale, it's whale something or other. But it would be so cute with that stamp set. All right, so let me pull back that card again so you can see it. So that's how I did this background. All right, and I have one more thing to share with you. And this technique I haven't shared with you yet. So this is called the Black Magic technique. So here's the card here. And I will bring it back so you guys can see it in a minute. All right, and we are using a new bundle that's coming out in the holiday catalog, or it's not called the holiday catalog anymore. It's called the August to December mini catalog. It's called Beautiful Autumn. It's this cute little fall set. I love fall. I always have to get a fall stamp set, and this is the one that I chose this time. There's a few different really good ones, but I love all the little leafy images. I love that it's a two-step if you want it to be a two-step. Whale of a time. Thank you, Joy. That last technique would be perfect with that suite. So I love that you can make this a two-step stamp, or you can color in these images, or you can leave them plain. And the greetings and the combination of fonts in here are fabulous. They're ones that you can use any time of the year. Have a beautiful day. Hey there. Thank you. Life is better with you. My heart is grateful for you. You can use those any time of the year. And then to make it a bundle, there are 3 punches. So there's, I think this is an oak leaf. Is that an oak leaf? Then there's a maple leaf, and then there's a little acorn. And of course they coordinate with the three little images. So the leaf, the maple leaf, this one, and then the little acorn. Okay, so we are going to do this technique called Black Magic. So our watercolor pencils, let me just show you. If you were to color just on black cardstock, you can see this a little bit. Let me try a few different colors so you can see. So you can see them a little bit. Actually, it's not that bad. But if you stamp them in white and then color them in, it makes them show up a little bit more, and it gives this really cool look. So I've gone ahead and I've stamped several of these images with Whisper White Craft ink. So just with this ink here. And then I let it dry. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white pencil and color in. Now, if you were to do, you can do this technique with a solid image stamp as well. And if it was a solid image, so let's say I wanted to use this same stamp set and I wanted it to be more solid, I could stamp that on the inside with white, and then I wouldn't need to do this step, okay? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my white pencil and I'm going to very lightly add a layer of white on the black cardstock. Okay, so I'll do one of each of these images so you can see. Do that one, and then this leafy image. So it is very, very light. Okay, so I'll pull it up closer. So if you look at and compare this acorn to this one's colored in, this one's not. This one's colored in, this one's not. This one's colored in, this one's not. So it's not a huge difference. It's very, very light. Oh, it's a little blurry. I don't know if it's going to go into focus or not. So like I said, it's very subtle. Okay, and then I'm going to take my colors. So let's do a yellow. Let's do shades of yellow. Okay, so we'll do that for this one. I'm going to color. So now I can push a little harder. I'm using Daffodil Delight, and I'm doing my first layer of color all over the leaf. And then I'm going to go back in. Oh, let's not do yellow. Let's do Cajun. So I'm going over the center and then some of those lines that are coming out. And then I'm going to go back in with some yellow, just go over the top. And I'll bring it up closer so you guys can see in a minute. Okay, and then let's do, I don't remember what colors. Let's do some green. So we'll do Old Olive and Granny Apple. So I'm coloring in with the Granny Apple first. And then I'll go over with a bit of olive. This one, because the colors are so similar, I don't think I need to go over it with the Granny Apple afterwards. And then for the acorn, I think I did a bit of Cajun Craze. This one you can see, with the acorn you can see the difference. You can really see the color because there's a lot more of that black open space compared to the two leaves, which have a lot of detail in them. Okay, and then early espresso for the top. So let me bring these in closer. So can you see the detail? You can really see it on the acorn because there is that open space. And then these are a little bit more subtle. Let me pull in the card again. So it's kind of a fun, different kind of background. And then you can see here that I I punched out one of the leaves and popped it up using dimensionals. The greeting is from the same set. And then I used the Tasteful Labels dies to cut this out, the Pinewood Planks background, and then some olive ribbon scraps that I had laying around. So, okay, let me catch up on some comments here. Do you go light, then dark, or just play? You know what? You can really just play. If you're adding layers of color, it's usually best to start light and then go dark. But play around with it. Like what I did before I created this background was I just stamped a bunch onto a piece of black cardstock, like just black scrap paper, and just kind of played around until I got the look that I wanted. So it's fun to just play and experiment and just see what you can do with your products, right? So I hope that you guys learned a thing or two about watercolor pencils. Let me pull in all 4 of the cards here. So we've got that one, and then our first one. Here, let's do this here. All right, so those are the 4 cards. And then here were the techniques that we did. So we did pencil with water, water with pencil, water with pencil with water again. One thing that I did note was sometimes you can see those pencil marks underneath. If you go water first and then pencil, even if you add that water, sometimes you can still see those pencil marks. So that's just one thing to note. And then this was water to the tip of the pencil. And then this is 2 colors. This isn't the best example of that because I used Fleur de Flamingo and I think Melon Mambo. The colors were too close. All right, so there's that. And then there was one other thing that I saw online that I thought was really cool. If you enjoy bringing crafting stuff when you travel and you want to be able to create kind of some fun watercolor backgrounds, I saw this tip where you can create your own palette, and instead of bringing your watercolor pencils, you just bring something like this and a water brush, and you're good to go. You can pull the color right off of here, you let it dry, and every time you add moisture to it, it pulls more color off of there. So I think what I have to do is, I haven't actually tried it, but I did see this online. I have to add more color. Like I've done a couple layers on here, but my hand was getting tired adding so many layers. You want to push quite hard, and you want to add a lot of pigment onto your watercolor paper background. And then I think it would be great. So you could just take this, and you'd have, what, seven different colors with you when you travel. Like if you travel and you want to add some quick color, like I love to bring traveler's notebooks with me when I travel. So this is a great solution without having to bring a ton of supplies. All right, so that was something else that I wanted to share with you. But like I said, I haven't tried it yet, so I'm not sure how well it works. But I will, and I'll let you know my thoughts on it. All right, so thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend. If you want to order any of these supplies, please feel free to visit my website, and you can use this host code. If your order's over $50, you get a little gift from me in the mail with your thank you card. And I hope you have a chance to get crafty this weekend. Thanks so much for watching.